Okay, folks. And I'd like to wish you a good evening. My name is Bonnie O'Leary, and I am the, the outreach manager for the Northern Virginia Resource Center for Deaf and Hard of Hearing Persons. And I'd like to welcome you this evening. We have a nice, small, cozy group. I would like to call your attention to the live captioning for this presentation. If you go to the chat, you will see the link to the stream text, or you can set your CC button and have the captions through Zoom, whichever you're more comfortable with. If you have any questions during the presentation, please go ahead and type them in the chat. And when we're finished, we will review the questions and go over them then. We are recording. We have had a request to have this recorded by a couple of outside groups, and you probably heard the prompt that the recording has begun. We will turn off the recording when we start the Q&A period. When we start the presentation, we just ask that you turn off your microphone and turn off your camera. You can turn them back on again when we are finished. I have a cat. This doesn't have anything to do with anything, but I'm in his favorite chair. And sometimes when I'm in the middle of an online presentation, he will jump up on my lap and up on the desk. We hope that won't happen this evening, but I'm just a heads up. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. And we will go to speaker view. There we go. This is the first part of a three-part series. I have been at NVRC now for 23 years, a little over 23 years, and I'm what they call a late deafened adult. I could hear perfectly until I was almost 50, and since then I have been wearing hearing aids. If I take them out now, I am completely deaf. When I joined the organization, my task was to develop a program for adults aging into hearing loss. And it has several incarnations, and this is one of them. And this is part one. We have part two coming up next week and the third part in 2 weeks. So we will start here with whether or not we have a hearing loss and what we can do about it. Now, for newcomers, and we do have some new names joining us this evening, a little bit about NVRC. We have a mission to empower deaf and hard of hearing individuals and their families through education, advocacy, and community involvement. We provide a broad array of services, which include information and referral, outreach, education. We have a free weekly email news service. We do hearing screenings. We have an ASL interpreting program. We mentor and we advocate for deaf, hard of hearing, late deafened, and deafblind individuals here in Northern Virginia. You can visit our website at nvrc.org to learn more about us, download fact sheets, keep up with the community calendar, and all sorts of news happening in the deaf and hard of hearing community. We're located in Oakton, and we are a nonprofit, so we are funded through grants. Fairfax County is our largest grant. We also have one with Arlington County and the state organization, the Virginia Department for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, which is in Richmond. We have a wonderful device demonstration room where you can come and take a look at the different kinds of telephones there are, amplified phones or caption phones. We have personal amplifiers, alerting systems, TV listening systems. Debbie Jones, who is my coworker, who will be presenting next week, she is in charge of the demo room, and you do need to have an appointment with her because like me, she spends a lot of time out in the community. She's also quite fluent in all the latest apps there are for people with hearing loss. So feel free to come and visit our demo room and sit down with Debbie and enjoy all these wonderful devices. The Virginia Department for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, affectionately known as VDDHH, funds something called a Technology Assistance Program. So for folks who income qualify, there are a few telecommunications and alerting devices that are available at no charge. Debbie is also in charge of this program, and she can tell you more about it when you come to visit. So, do I have a hearing loss? Well, how do we hear anyway? I want you to think of your ears as baseball catcher's mitts, one on each side of your head that catches all the sounds of life and funnels them through the outer, middle, and inner ear to the auditory cortex of the brain. Our ears simply transport sound to the brain, such as speech, music, traffic. That is where the sound is identified. There are three main types of hearing loss. Conductive loss can be something like wax or fluid built up behind the eardrum, or perhaps bony growths on the stapes bone in the middle ear. We tend to refer to conductive loss as temporary because very often it can be helped with medical intervention. If you're like me, you have sensory neural hearing loss, and that is permanent, most often in the cochlea, but it can happen on the auditory nerve anywhere in the inner ear. And some people have a combination of the two. In older adults, 1 out of 3 over the age of 65 and 2 out of 3 over the age of 75 will have some degree of hearing loss. It is the third most prevalent and treatable condition in seniors after arthritis and hypertension. If we leave our hearing loss untreated, it can contribute to a variety of other problems, such as falling, balance problems, depression, and even early onset dementia. So how do we know that we have a hearing loss or that someone we love has a hearing loss? The TV is turned up loud enough for everybody in the neighborhood to hear it. We have trouble understanding on the phone sometimes, or speaking too loudly because we can't hear ourselves that well anymore. Leading with an ear, asking for repetition. But something I have seen in all of my years in outreach at NVRC, and I work with the senior community, is a tendency to withdraw. If we have difficulty understanding conversations in social situations, we stop going, and that can lead to a lot of depression and anxiety. So we have to work together to try to figure out how we can take some more positive steps to get back into the conversation as much as possible. People ask a lot. This is a huge question we get asked many times with, should I see an audiologist or a hearing instrument specialist about my hearing loss? And there are differences. An audiologist requires an AUD, which is a clinical doctorate, and they specialize in a wide variety of skills. They not only fit hearing aids, but they can provide oral rehabilitation. They can map cochlear implants, do newborn infant screenings, and many of them are fluent with hearing assistive technologies, and they can do dizziness and balance testing. So it's a much broader education. A hearing instrument specialist has to pass a state exam, but they can train in an office under other hearing instrument specialists, and they are experts in the fitting of hearing aids. As someone who has been so hard of hearing for so many years and has met so many other people who have been. What I tell folks is that what's important is that you find the person that you are comfortable with, someone who can make every effort to get you from point A to B with your hearing loss on your budget, and someone that is going to kind of be with you for the duration, because our hearing loss often does change over time, and you want to go to the person who will be helpful to you about that. I have friends who love their hearing instrument specialists, and I have friends who love their audiologists. So it will become a personal decision. When we go for a hearing evaluation, this is what should happen. First, they will take your medical history and find out about your budget. That's very important. How about your lifestyle? And where are you noticing that you're having the most problems with your hearing? And how much do you know about hearing assistive technology in addition to hearing aids? Then they're going to look into your ear with an otoscope, and that will help them see whether there are any conductive issues, like fluid behind the eardrum or any wax, or maybe some kind of an infection that can be treated. And then they will put you into a soundproof booth where you're going to listen to pure tones, words, and the word discrimination is very important. And this is going to measure how you hear. You will either push a button when you hear the tones or raise your hand. Every rig is different. Then they're going to do a bone conduction test, which sounds creepy, but really all they do is put the headset behind the ear, one side of it, the cup there, on the mastoid bone. And that helps them determine if your hearing loss is conductive or sensory neural. And then you'll have a tympanogram. And a tympanogram measures the flexibility of the eardrum, how it responds to different pressures. You want to think about going up and down in an elevator or in an airplane. Sometimes, you can feel your eardrums kind of popping. And the results of all of these tests go on something called an audiogram. It won't look exactly like this, but we wanted to create something that is sort of user-friendly so we understand what we're looking at. And if you look at the numbers that go across the top here, see if I can get my mouse up here. This refers to the pitch of the sound, the frequency. Think of them like keys on a piano that go from low to high. And these numbers that go down the left refer to the volume, soft to loud. And you see all these loud sounds down here. Where you see this dotted line here that is in the shape of a banana, that is actually called the speech banana. And it shows you where the vowel and consonant sounds fall all along the frequency spectrum. And you can see here, there are different levels of hearing loss. Now, someone who has a mild loss, if they're coming in here, they're going to have difficulty with normal speech and listen with some extra effort. If they have a moderate loss, they'll have difficulty understanding loud speech, might need line of sight to a person speaking, and they might be speech reading without even realizing it. If they have a severe loss, they can only understand amplified speech. They might write notes. They'll need to speech read, and they might start to learn sign language. And then down here, the profound hearing loss, they'll have difficulty understanding amplified speech, and they'll need to speech read, probably learn sign language, and need oral rehabilitation. Now, this patient, if this patient had this result, X for the left ear, O for the right ear, this patient has a mild sloping to severe high frequency hearing loss. What's in orange, this patient is not hearing anymore. So look at some of these sounds here, the K, T, F, S, T, H. These are very soft, high frequency sounds, and they are now gone. And what does it mean when you have these X's and O's? Let's take this X here. at 8,000, a pitch of 8,000 hertz. The reason that X is there is because this patient did not hear the sound presented at 8,000 hertz until it was presented at 80 decibels of volume. Right, we just did that. But I had a very hard time when I got my first audiogram because it didn't look like this, and I was completely confused by what all those X's and O's are. But essentially, they will show you how loud a sound had to be before you were able to hear it and understand it. So these consonants just disappear. Here are 3 babushkas sitting on the bench. And the first one says, "It's windy here." And their friend says, "No, it's Thursday." And their friend says, "Well, I'm thirsty too. Let's make tea." So this is a prime example of people speaking to each other. They hear each other, but they don't understand each other. And look at these high frequency sounds, the T, S, T, H, T, S, and K, the conversation that's sort of different happened. And the impact on all of us is fatigue, not only on those of us who have a hearing loss, but those who live with us and love us and work with us and are with us all the time. It can be very stressful and very frustrating for everybody. We have a very popular hearing screening program, and because we're nonprofit, no sales are ever involved. And during a screening, which takes about 6 minutes, we use an iPad with headphones, and it's the Starkey SoundCheck app, which is quite accurate. The test itself takes 6 minutes, and it checks 500 to 4,000 hertz, so the kind of the main conversation area. You only hear tones, and first they come to your right ear, then the left ear, and then you just touch the iPad when you hear the tone, and the results will show whether you have a hearing loss and where it is and how much it is. And it's a good thing to do before you go to an audiologist. It helps us help you determine whether you should see a professional hearing healthcare individual. And so then we turn to hearing aids, which are affectionately known as an imperfect solution. There are always going to be prescription hearing aids in addition to over-the-counter. And some of them we're going to talk about here, the behind the ear. That's what I wear, this one up here. I have these on and I'm hesitant to take it out and show you because then I'm not going to hear myself. But all the controls are behind my ear, and my ear, I have I don't know if you can see this, but I have ear molds in both of my ears, big ear molds to occlude the outside sound. And those of us who have more of a severe to profound losses will have the ear mold in our ear. Another one that's very popular now is called the open fit. And the open fit still fits behind the ear, and you have your controls here. But instead of having a mold like I do, you simply have a little silicone dome that slides into the ear canal. And one thing that you have to be mindful of is that these little domes can come off in your ear if you don't keep them clean and be sure that they are free of wax. I've had a few seniors in my time tell me they went to the emergency room to have them pulled out of their ears. So you have to be careful with that. For folks who have more of a severe type of a hearing loss, if they can tolerate it, there is a behind the ear model where the receiver is actually in the canal and closer to the eardrum for more power. And then in the ear, we have the old standby. This one has been around from the beginning, really, and all you have to do is reach up and turn the little dial here to get more or less volume. And then we have a smaller one in the canal. You can still see a little bit of it protruding there. And then the completely in the canal, these are very tiny, and you take them out, put them in with this little filament here. These tend to be the ones that everybody wants the first time around because they're invisible. There's no difference in price between these little guys and the big ones. And depending on the hearing loss that you have, you might not be able to fit all the bells and whistles that you need into these little tiny ones. So it's always good to be guided by your hearing health professional as to the most advisable hearing aids for your hearing loss, for how your test came out. And we have in the drawer, believe it or not, that's a category. If you've ever known anyone who got hearing aids and 6 weeks later they thought, nope, I'm not wearing these, and into the drawer they go. Unless you're getting an open fit, you will need to have an impression taken of your ear. We want to be sure that the hearing aid will fit and not whistle or feedback. So they use something that looks like a cookie press, and they fill your ear with stuff that kind of feels like Play-Doh, and it'll sit in there for a couple of minutes, and then they pull it out and you have an exact replica of your ear canal. And that's what they send off to the manufacturer to have it made specifically for you. Hearing aids take batteries, and the general rule of thumb is that the larger the battery, the longer the shelf life. I wear a size 13 battery, and I usually get about 2 weeks out of it, which is pretty good because I have them in all day long. For folks who don't want to bother with the battery compartment, or perhaps they have vision issues or manual dexterity issues, there are rechargeable hearing aids. And Phonak and Signia, which used to be Siemens, are two manufacturers that offer rechargeable aids. There are many others, but I just want to have a photograph here so you can see what the cradle looks like. And at the end of the day, you simply put your hearing aids into the cradle, which is plugged into your outlet. And when you get up in the morning, your batteries are charged, and they last about a year. And when the batteries need to be replaced, you simply return to your hearing health professional, and they will put the new batteries in, and you got another year to go. Some folks only have single-sided hearing loss, and in that case, the cross hearing aid can give pretty good results. So the amp and the receiver are in the aid for the deaf ear. The microphone is in the other aid. So the good ear is basically delivering the sound to the bad ear. Now, these are the major manufacturers, and alphabetically: Bernafon, Oticon, Phonak, Resound, Rexton, Signia, which used to be Siemens, Starkey, Unitron, and Widex. There are lots of new boys on the block now since the over-the-counter has come out, but these guys have been around for a long time and have really very, very good quality hearing aids. I get asked about Costco all the time. It is literally the most frequently asked question at these presentations, and they've started carrying other brands besides Kirkland. The Fairfax and Arlington Costco, really good marks from the individuals who shared their experiences with NVRC. They have an audiologist that oversees the department, but you need to know that if you return for servicing or tweaking, which is perfectly normal, you might not see the same person. That doesn't matter to some people, but if you're someone who always wants to be with the same hearing health professional, this might not be the best idea. Also, a private audiologist might not be able to adjust them for you. My audiologist has had a few folks come in who said, I got these at Costco and I'm not that all happy with them, but they can't do anything about it because when they put them into their computer, they're blocked from making any changes. And it says something like, can only be readjusted by Costco. So that's just something to keep in mind. There are so many myths about hearing aids, but the number one myth is that hearing aids are like glasses for the ears. And once in a while, that's kind of a sales pitch to people who are trying to debate, should I get them? Shouldn't I get them? Oh, they're just like glasses for the ears. Well, let's think about glasses. If you have common vision issues, nearsighted, farsighted, optics can give you 20/20 or better. So because wearing glasses can provide excellent results, we can see normally and we don't hesitate to wear glasses. But the science of sound and hearing is more complex, and hearing aids will improve our hearing. There's no question about that, and sometimes by a great deal. But your hearing isn't restored to normal. You're not going to hear like you used to. And that's why we call hearing aids an imperfect solution. They help a lot, but it doesn't provide the same result for your hearing that glasses can provide for your vision. And that's important to remember. And they're not all the same. Don't let anybody tell you all these hearing aids are the same, because each manufacturer has its own programming strategies. So you want to have an audiologist who has a certain amount of fluency in the various programs in order to provide the maximum benefit to their patients. And sometimes there are some elements of the software that cannot be manipulated into what the patient is looking for. There are many settings available for hearing aids, but not all hearing aids have all the settings. There is automatic, one for noisy environment, the telecoil, which I'll get to, Bluetooth, of course, omnidirectional microphone, speech and noise, music, comfort and echo. And there, of course, are smartphone apps. What the heck is a telecoil? Why have telecoils? I tell you, I wouldn't be without them. The telecoil, it's inside the hearing aid. It's you can't see it, and it works like a small receiver, and it picks up the signals from a loop system, and the loop system acts as an electromagnetic field. So the telecoil converts this electromagnetic field into a sound signal. Large venues can provide loop systems to serve many listeners simultaneously. And then there are portable neck loops that you can get to pair with your tablet or your cell phone or personal amplifier, your TV listening system. And the telecoil does not put extra strain on the batteries. You see it, tiny little thing there. The meeting room that we use at Service Source has an induction loop. You can't see it, it's under the carpet, and it goes all the way around the perimeter of the room. Some folks have telecoils also in their cochlear implants. And what's great about it is that you can sit anywhere within that induction loop cable. So you could be all the way at the back of the room, and the presenter is up at the front of the room speaking through the microphone, and that person's voice comes right to your ear. It sounds like you're right there with them, but you're at the back of the room. It's great. I would not be without it. And here is an example. That's what a neck loop looks like, and they cost about $40 or so, and you can use them with a variety of things. This is a television listening system, which is a loop system. This is actually what I have, this one here. Let's see if my mouse, yeah. So this goes around my neck, and I control the volume here for the television, and I activate my telecoil setting, and the sound from the TV comes through the neck loop right into my ear. And it's great because then I can listen to the TV at a level that is comfortable for me while my family watches at a level that is comfortable for them. And there's peace in the house at last. And folks who like Bluetooth, I have a lot of friends who love their Bluetooth connectivity for their hearing aids. But you do tend to need a remote device like a streamer, which can often be an additional cost. And this will pair with one device and one listener at a time. And you also have to be a certain distance from the sound source to have it work. Now, Bluetooth will put extra strain on the batteries if you're using it a lot. And there's smartphone apps. I don't have them with my hearing aids, but that's okay. I have quite a number of friends who do, and they love this because you have personalized sound settings and it adjusts automatically for you in the car, and you can control the volume and the memory settings with just the touch of your phone. You don't have to be doing this. You just get your phone out, make changes. If you're in a restaurant or you're somewhere where you have to do that, you just do it in a very discreet way on your phone. And there are captioning apps also. Google Live Transcribe for Android and Otter for iPhone and Android. And I'm going to see whether I can activate my Google Live Transcribe, which I absolutely love. And you know, when COVID hit, let me see if I can get this and you can see this. When COVID hit and everybody had to wear a mask, and those of us who are hard of hearing or deaf have to rely on lip reading, that became an impossibility. So most of us have a speech-to-text app of some kind on their phone, and I tell you, this was absolutely fantastic. And this is Google Live Transcribe. It is a free app. Go to the Google Play Store and just download it. Otter is for both iPhone and Android. And it is, again, it's a free app, and you go to the Otter website and download it. It does the same thing. The main difference is the font is a little bit smaller. And if you have several people speaking, each time a new person speaks, it skips a line. So it looks like a script when it's done. Google Live Transcribe just tends to run on, but they both keep a transcript of what has been said. So if you have made arrangements with someone to do something and the next day you forgot what time you're supposed to meet them, you go back to your conversation in Otter or in Google Live Transcribe, and you go back through it and you could see when you're supposed to meet somebody. It's really something. And for folks who are having difficulty understanding on their smartphones, InnoCaption, which is another free app, also for iPhone and Android. InnoCaption gives you the opportunity to have a conversation on your smartphone and just read what the person is saying. And a lot of times as we lose our hearing, listening on a cell phone can be more of a struggle than a landline. It's a different sound. It's got more echo on it sometimes, a little more, it's just interference. And so I have InnoCaption, and you can make international calls on InnoCaption too. There are others. There are new boys on the block too with these apps, but this is an example of how helpful that can be. And these are the links. If you want to have a copy of this PowerPoint, of course, I can send it to you so you will have all of this at hand. And there's something called a hearable. Now, hearables sort of to some people look like hearing aids, but they're really not. They're just smart headphones. It's a wireless in-ear computer that's simply designed to support a listening experience. And PSAPs, they've been around for a while. They are not FDA regulated. They cannot be marketed as a device to improve hearing loss, and they don't compensate for hearing loss. But when you look over here, some of these look like hearing aids, but they are not. Now, over-the-counter hearing aids, they've been out for a while now. There's some positive things about these. They are FDA regulated. They're easily available. There are many choices, less expensive, and they do have style options. But there are some considerations that we need to point out. You have to remember that these devices are marketed to treat perceived mild to moderate loss. But you have no one to provide the adjustments, the instructions, or ongoing care. The sound quality is somewhat lower, and you have limited preset sound profiles. They're not going to be made for your specific loss or the shape of your ear canal. And you do need to be tech savvy because in some respects, they're kind of like do-it-yourself hearing aids. You have your smartphone or your computer and you kind of follow all the instructions to get them to work. And when you look at, and there's no warranty law in place right now. So that's a question you would need to ask of the manufacturer. But if you have a moderate on down hearing loss, falls anywhere down here, the chances of having any real benefit from them is pretty slim. But what is mild to moderate loss? Your hearing loss might be in that range if you have challenges with understanding some conversation on the phone, understanding people speaking in groups, finding background noise difficult, understanding speech on the TV or the radio, and needing people to repeat what they say. That would be mild to moderate. However, if you have difficulty understanding conversations in a quiet environment, or if you have trouble hearing louder sounds like a vacuum cleaner from another room or certain alarms or vehicles, then you're falling down here in the moderately severe on down. And again, over the counter is not designed for hearing loss that's that far down the spectrum. You should ask some questions about your over-the-counter. You would go on the website of whatever brand you choose, or there's usually an 800 number associated with a particular style, and find out if there's a free trial period, if there's a money-back guarantee, if you can connect via Bluetooth or a loop system to a smartphone or a computer. Can you adjust the volume, control the feedback? Can you cut out background noise? How about recharging the battery? And what is the battery life? So there are a lot of questions that need to be answered before you go ahead with these. This is a quick comparison, kind of a bird's eye view that was done by my audiologist. For over-the-counter hearing aids, there are limited candidates. It is a less sophisticated product. There's no service that comes with it, and they're limited or no warranties at all, but they might offer lower cost options. For prescription hearing aids, nearly anyone with a hearing loss can get a hearing aid. It's a much more sophisticated product, has an extensive professional service and support, and considerable warranties. And interestingly, there is an overlap in cost between high-end over-the-counter and low-end prescription hearing aids. If you want to keep up with the latest news, you want to go to hearingtracker.com. I love this website, and I'm on their email news list. So whenever anything is new, I find out about it. And what I love about this website is it also offers professional opinions and viewpoints on what's in the market, as well as consumer feedback. So it's a very, very useful website to visit. With insurance coverage, getting a little better here and there, but Medicare will cover your hearing evaluation if you are referred by your primary care, but they're not covering hearing aids yet. That's an advocacy issue for us, and Medicaid does not for adults. TRICARE, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Aetna, and some others have plans that cover hearing aids either in whole or in part. I found out about a year and a half ago that one of the Medicare plans with Aetna covers up to $5,000 for hearing aids every 3 years, but that's the best one that I've heard of. So you really have to check with the insurance that you have to see what's available. In Virginia, you have 30 days to try them and you return them if you are not satisfied. Some professionals will give you 60 days. You just have to ask. But you also want to know, what are the fees if you return them? Because every business is different. Some will charge a flat fee. Some will charge like a percentage of the cost. So that's good information to have. Also, one of the first questions that I would ask is whether your hearing health professional will let you try another model or another manufacturer if the first go around isn't proving to be successful, and that would be without any additional charges. You're going to return for tweaks. Putting in hearing aids isn't quite the same thing as wearing glasses, and you might find as you start to wear them that there are certain sounds that are harsh or that bother you, other sounds that aren't coming in well enough. Make some notes and go back to your audiologist, and they will fix them right there on their computer and put in all these new coordinates, and you put them back in your ears, and now you have a totally different listening experience. It's really quite amazing. So hearing assistive technology in many cases can be useful instead of hearing aids, or more often when hearing aids aren't quite enough. And next week at the same time, my coworker, Debbie Jones, will be doing a program about hearing assistive technology as a whole petting zoo of devices. And she'll be talking about amplified and captioned phones and personal amplifiers and TV listening systems, alerting devices and apps, and then the TAP program through VDDHH. So she will be with us on February 28th, a week from tonight, 7 p.m. on Zoom. And getting over the hurdle, I just want to finish up mentioning that resources can help, and reaching out to other people who have a hearing loss can also be enormously helpful. You can start it with nvrc.org. Also, the Hearing Loss Association of America, they're in Rockville. They consider themselves to be the nation's voice for people with hearing loss. They have chapters around the country, but you can reach out to them. And also the Association of Late Deafened Adults, ALDA. And again, the ALDA folks, I've been to a couple of their conventions, and I found that more than half of the people there were actually late deafened adults who have adopted communicating in sign language. That's not a choice that I made, but I know so many people who just found that it was easier and they wanted to feel a little bit closer to the deaf community. So they just head first into learning ASL, and they sign to each other. And it's really an amazing thing to see. But they used to be able to hear at one point, and they're very sympathetic to people who have become late deafened. So these are 3 groups that you can start with to reach out to for support and to get all kinds of great information. And so that brings me to the end of this presentation. This is my email here, boleary@nvrc.org. I'll leave that up for a second. So if you would like for me to email you a copy of this PowerPoint, I will be happy to do so, or email me about anything. I live on email, and I will get back to you very quickly. It doesn't usually take longer than a few hours to get a response. And happy to help and give you any information that I can. And so I'm going to stop share and stop recording.